It was supposed to be a fun night, a Halloween party at my best friend's place, filled with cheap costumes, bad punch, and plenty of laughs. Little did I know, the mask I found at that dusty old thrift store wasn't just an accessory. It was something much darker, something alive. When I first put it on, I thought the unease I felt was just the weight of the mask pressing on my face. But I was wrong. That mask didn't just sit on my skin. It became part of me, and it knew everything. Every thought, every fear, every secret I tried to bury deep. If you ever come across a mask like this, turn away, run, because once you wear it, there's no going back. And the nightmare begins. The shop was one of those places you don't notice until you need it. The kind of shop that feels like it shouldn't exist, tucked between a boarded-up bookstore and an abandoned laundromat. The sign hanging over the door read, "Curiosities and Oddities," the letters faded and barely visible. I stepped inside, the doorbell jangling like it hadn't been touched in years. The air inside was thick with the smell of old wood and mothballs. Shelves lined with strange trinkets stretched into the dimly lit corners of the store. Ancient books with cracked spines, porcelain dolls with chipped faces, and jars filled with unrecognizable substances. And there it was, the mask. It sat on a velvet stand in the back of the store, as though it was waiting for me. The craftsmanship was uncanny. Smooth ivory with intricate carvings that seemed to shift and writhe under the flickering light. The hollow eye sockets seemed deeper than they should have been, almost as if they were looking back at me. "It's perfect," I muttered, reaching out to touch it. The second my fingers brushed the surface, a jolt shot through my hand like static electricity. I should have walked away then. I should have listened to the knot forming in my stomach. But I didn't. The shopkeeper appeared suddenly, a gaunt man with pale, almost translucent skin. "You've chosen well," he said, his voice raspy. "But be warned, the mask chooses its wearer." I laughed nervously. "What does that mean?" He didn't answer, just smiled, a crooked, unsettling grin that made my skin crawl. I paid for the mask and left, thinking I had scored a one-of-a-kind piece for Halloween. But the moment I stepped out of the shop, I felt it, a subtle weight, like an invisible thread connecting me back to that store. At the party, the mask was a hit. People kept complimenting it, asking where I'd found something so unique. I felt confident, even smug, despite the gnawing unease in the back of my mind. But as the night wore on, the mask started to feel heavier. The edges dug into my skin, and the air inside seemed stifling, almost suffocating. When I tried to take it off, it wouldn't budge. "Relax," I told myself. "You're just overthinking it." But then the whispers started. At first, I thought it was just the noise of the party, snatches of conversation blending together in the crowded room. But as the night wore on, the whispers grew louder, more distinct. They weren't coming from the people around me. They were coming from inside the mask. "Why did you come here?" the voice hissed. "You think they care about you?" I froze, my blood turning cold. The voice was low and guttural, unlike anything I'd ever heard. I looked around, but no one seemed to notice. They were laughing, drinking, dancing, oblivious to the growing dread that was consuming me. When I finally managed to pry the mask off, my skin felt raw, as though the mask had fused with my face. I threw it into my bag, determined to return it to the store the next day. But that night, as I lay in bed, I could feel it, watching, waiting. The next morning, I tried to go back to the shop, but it wasn't there. The space where it had been was empty, boarded up like it hadn't been occupied in years. I stood there, staring at the graffiti-covered boards, clutching the mask in my hands. I should have left it there, tossed it into the nearest dumpster. But I couldn't. It was as though the mask had a hold on me, a magnetic pull I couldn't resist. That's when the nightmares began. Every time I closed my eyes, I found myself in a dark, endless void. Shadows moved around me, their shapes shifting and flickering like smoke. And in the center of it all was the mask, hovering in midair, its hollow eyes glowing with a faint, malevolent light. "You can't escape," it whispered. "I know you. Every thought, every sin." When I woke up, drenched in sweat, the mask was there, sitting on my nightstand. I hadn't put it there. I hadn't even taken it out of my bag. The following days were a blur of paranoia, and fear. I started hearing the whispers even when I was awake, taunting me, revealing things I thought I had buried long ago, secrets I had kept even from myself. The mask seemed to know everything, my regrets, my fears, my darkest thoughts. And then it started moving. At first, it was subtle, a slight shift in position when I wasn't looking, the angle of its hollow eyes changing ever so slightly. But soon it became more brazen. I would find it in different rooms, always facing me, always watching. One night, I woke up to find it lying on the pillow next to me. The whispers grew more insistent, more sinister. "You can't hide from me," it would say. "I see everything." I tried to destroy it. I burned it, smashed it with a hammer, even threw it into the river. But no matter what I did, it always came back, pristine, untouched, waiting for me. One night, the mask revealed its true power. I was sitting in my living room, clutching a knife, ready to defend myself against whatever was coming. The lights flickered, and the room plunged into darkness. When the lights came back on, the mask was on my face. I hadn't put it on. I screamed, clawing at it, trying to rip it off, but it was no use. My reflection in the mirror wasn't mine anymore. The person staring back at me was a twisted, distorted version of myself, with hollow, glowing eyes and a cruel, mocking grin. "You're mine now," the reflection said. There's no escape. The mask began to take over my life. It wasn't just an object anymore, it was a part of me. It controlled my thoughts, my actions, my very identity. I started seeing things, dark, shadowy figures that followed me everywhere, their eyes glowing like the mask's. I couldn't tell what was real anymore. Every time I tried to fight back, the mask tightened its grip, its whispers growing louder, more deafening. "You'll never be free," it said. "You are mine." I realized then that the mask didn't just know my every move. It was shaping them, guiding me down a path I couldn't escape. I was a puppet, and it was the puppeteer. I don't know how much time I have left. The mask's hold on me grows stronger every day. I've tried to warn people, to tell them what's happening, but no one believes me. They think I've lost my mind. Maybe I have. So, if you ever see a mask like this, beautiful, intricate, almost too perfect, stay away. Don't touch it, don't even look at it, because once it finds you, it's already too late, and the nightmare will begin.